Area 51, the ultra-secret U.S. Air Force base in the barren Nevada desert. It has existed since the Cold War, but the CIA officially acknowledged it only in 2013. Many believe alien technology, or even aliens themselves, are hidden there. Is that true? Ufologists and conspiracy theorists are so obsessed with the idea that in 2019, they even tried to storm Area 51. Let's unpack the story. First, the facts. Area 51 is part of the vast Nevada Test and Training Range, NTTR, belonging to the U.S. Air Force. The base lies about 80 miles northwest of Las Vegas. The range is enormous, covering roughly 4,600 to 5,000 square miles of restricted land and airspace. The Air Force proudly calls it the largest military maneuver space in the world. A desert is convenient to bomb during training. There's nothing there. On the other hand, ufologists insist it's not that simple. Where else would you hide the wreckage of flying saucers if not in the middle of desolate Nevada? The base's story, as we know it, begins in 1955, when the Eisenhower administration authorized a remote test site at Groom Lake for Lockheed's new U-2 spy plane under CIA program Aquatone. Before that, the land was privately owned. The government ultimately seized it under eminent domain after compensation disputes. For a time, Groom Lake functioned as a normal airfield tied to nuclear test support. Then it became home to America's most secret reconnaissance projects. The U-2, developed by Lockheed's Skunk Works division, decades before Lockheed became Lockheed Martin, was built to cruise above radar and photograph restricted sites deep inside the USSR. U-2 pilot Francis Gary Powers was shot down over Sverdlovsk on May 1, 1960, and later exchanged in February 1962 for Soviet spy Rudolf Abel. Secrecy around U-2 testing was extreme. According to one account, the first aircraft arrived disassembled to avoid recognition and was put together on site. Groom Lake then hosted even more exotic programs. The CIA's A-12 OXCART, predecessor to the SR-71, the SR-71 Blackbird itself, and later the stealth F-117 Nighthawk, all tested under layers of classification. Around the same time, reports of unidentified objects began multiplying. In 1959, a Reno paper reported a bright green object moving far faster than any plane and along odd trajectories. How did the CIA react? They tended to let such stories run, perhaps even seed them. Strange sightings could be waved off as UFOs rather than cutting-edge prototypes. During the Cold War, foreign aircraft were also evaluated here. The U.S. tested Soviet-made MiGs obtained through allies and defections, including a MiG-21 delivered by Israel in 1966 and other types later, in programs nicknamed Have Donut/Have Drill. Understanding an adversary's design, strengths, and weak points was a critical part of the arms race. The site was so secret it could be seen only from space, which almost turned into a public relations fiasco in 1974, when the Skylab 4 crew accidentally photographed the Groom Lake area. NASA published the images with the rest of the mission's photos. The CIA was furious. Area 51 was so secret that even NASA didn't realize the site's classification. In the end, officials admitted the obvious. The Soviets already had their own spy satellites. Fretting over a few NASA frames was pointless. Until late in the Cold War, the general public didn't even know Area 51 existed, so no one suspected aliens were hidden there. That changed in 1989, when Bob Lazar went on Las Vegas station KLAS-TV, claiming he'd worked at a facility called S4, tied to Area 51 after being recruited from Los Alamos. According to Lazar, his job was to study alien spacecraft and reverse engineer their technology for the military. The interview was arranged by John Lear, son of aviation magnate Bill Lear, founder of Learjet. Lear himself had flown CIA missions in the late 1960s to 1970s and had posted claims online in 1987 that the U.S. government worked with aliens, even promoting films like Close Encounters and E.T. as part of a cover-up. Lazar said Area 51 had underground facilities where alien saucers were dismantled and tested. He claimed there were 9 flying saucers, all designed for small gray aliens from the Zeta Reticuli system. He once saw researchers in lab coats interacting with one such being, nicknamed the Kids because of their small stature. Lazar described a gravity drive engine powered by element 115, not yet synthesized at the time. Scientists first created the element in 2003, Dubna, Russia. In 2016, it was officially named Moscovium. The Zeta Reticuli reference echoed the 1961 case of Betty and Barney Hill. Under hypnosis, they described a star map allegedly shown to them. Later, an amateur astronomer matched their sketch to the Zeta Reticuli region. That coincidence helped make Lazar's story persuasive to ufologists, despite the lack of documentation for his claimed degrees or employment. Indeed, records of his education were missing. Los Alamos denied he worked there. He faced a pandering case in the 1990s, and in 2006 he was investigated over transporting illegal chemicals. Still, the idea stuck. Area 51 equals UFO secrecy. Myths continued to pile up. Illuminati meetings, cooperation with aliens, secret climate weapons, even a Cheshire runway that appears when watered and vanishes when dry, like the Cheshire Cat's smile. Area 51 became a pop culture icon, mentioned even more often than Roswell, 1947. Around its borders, a UFO tourism industry sprang up. Themed motels, museums, diners, UFO watch tours. In 2011, journalist Annie Jacobson published a book drawing on interviews with supposed Area 51 personnel. One anonymous source offered a baroque theory. The alien craft were part of a Stalin-era psyop with Nazi scientists. Even Joseph Mengele, using surgically altered children in exotic flying machines to sow panic in the US. It's unproven, but it fed the legend. Jacobson later became a Pulitzer Prize finalist for different work. Meanwhile, Freedom of Information Act requests filed in the 2000s eventually produced the CIA's 2013 declassification of Area 51's role in U-2 and other reconnaissance programs. Nothing about aliens, exactly what skeptics expected and believers dismissed as a smokescreen. Security at the site remains deliberately opaque. Guards aren't regular troops or local police, but anonymous camo dudes. Men in camouflage driving unmarked white trucks. Their employer isn't publicly identified. They don't chat. They simply raise weapons. And then came Storm Area 51. In 2019, 21-year-old Matty Roberts created a Facebook event as a joke. Storm Area 51, they can't stop all of us. He suggested meeting on September 20th, 2019 at the gates and sprinting Naruto style to dodge bullets. The event went viral. About 2 million clicked going, 1.5 million clicked interested, and the Air Force issued warnings. Roberts tried to pivot the hype into a music festival. That fizzled. On the day, roughly 150 to 200 people gathered near the main gates. A handful of arrests for trespass aside, there was no storm, just a meme-made flesh, plus a couple of small desert festivals. Bottom line, the facts we know, U-2, a 12/SR-71, F-117, foreign aircraft evaluations, and the 2013 declassification are earthly and well documented. The rest lives in the twilight zone between secrecy, speculation, and the very human habit of turning deserts into mirrors for our wildest stories.